Hello and welcome back to Decision Points. My name is Andrew Denson from The Good, the Bored, and the Ugly. Today I'm going to be talking to you about a game called Lignum. The designer is Alexander Humer, and this is the version published by Capstone Games. So let's start talking about Lignum and the decisions that are going to be involved within this game. First of all, you're going to win by having the most money. So money is points and points is money. And the money will be also used to purchase different things. So you have to kind of make that decision early on. How much can I afford to spend? This is also my endgame score, that kind of deal. Now, the first big decision you come and get into in Lignum is where to cut wood, because Lignum is a game about logging and running sort of a logging business. So you have to make a decision of where in the forest you're going to cut your wood. There's usually 6 spots. At the beginning of the game, it's kind of set up for you, but after that, they start randomly being refilled with different amounts of wood, different kinds of wood. Maybe there's some food there, that kind of deal. Now, there's kind of 2 ways you can go about playing this. The standard way is you have all these little bidding tokens, and you secretly select one, and then once everyone's done that, you reveal. And maybe 2 of you pick the same spot, and then you're like, oh crap. So after that, you have this path you're going to follow and sort of collect resources along the way. So if you're in the same area as someone else, you'd be like, oh man, I really got to book it through that path to get him there, because if he gets there and cuts all the wood, I'm in trouble. Now, you can ultimately pay $1 to move to another empty spot, but that's probably going to be a suboptimal move. So that's the normal way of playing it. There's also what's called the tactical variant, where whoever got to the end of the path first, they get to pick what area they're going to clear at the end of the next round. It kind of balances because they're also going to be going last down the path. So if there's anything tasty there, they're going to be the last to get any chance at it. So, you got a decision on how you want to play your game there. The tactical variant's going to give you a little bit more control. The normal way of playing the game is going to allow that sort of headspace, getting into your opponent's mind, trying to figure out, are they going to go there or are they not going to go there? That can lead to some slightly crazier situations. In a game I played once, we were doing that, and nobody voted for the best cutting area because everyone figured somebody would vote for it and they didn't want to have to fight for it. So we all went to suboptimal places. The tactical variant, that is never going to happen. So make your decision there. Do you like a game with a little more control, or do you like a game that involves a little bit more of the I know you know, but knowing that you know that I know kind of thing? Then you want to play it the normal way. So the next thing you're going to do is go around this path, and there's all these different stops to pick up saws, to pick up rafts, different ways of transporting your wood, to pick up workers. How many woodcutters are you going to need? How many sawyers you're going to need? How many bearers to carry the wood from the little wood pile you made up there down to your sawmill. So you have to move your way through, thinking about the money you need and how that's going to work. Make sure you have enough to go all the way through the path and get what you're going to need to make more money. Because if you don't make more money in a round, the rest of the game is not going to go well for you. So you need money in this game to continue. So you got to spend money to make money. The most efficient way of doing that's gonna, get you that slightly better score. However, it's a first come, first serve. If I take the saw, no one else can go to that spot and take that saw. Now you might buy one later, but now you're paying for the privilege. So it's really, how many areas do I skip? And it's not like Takedo or something where the last person gets to hoover up everything, and then once they finally pass someone, that person gets to move. No, this goes in turn order all the time. So I move, then someone moves, then someone moves, then someone moves, then I move again. Doesn't matter where any of us are on the path. So you have to kind of consider that while you're choosing where to go to. So that's a really interesting, crunchy decision with a lot of interaction. It's not so much a take that, but it's I'll take that. You don't need it. Sometimes people will do that just to be a butt. They see you've got maybe fodder, so you can use the transporting method of cart. So they just run, you know what? I'm going to take that cart. I don't really need it, but I know you do. and it's going to hurt you a lot worse than it is slowing me down, stopping to get it. So those are the different decisions you can make while going through this path. How many people you're going to hire. In the capstone version, you also get a couple cool little expansions. There's buildings. These buildings give you bonuses. First come, first serve. There's these things called joiners. There's only one per round. You put them on your map. They give you $1 every round. Money is tight in this game. That's not a bad deal at all. However, then you got to feed them in winter, which makes it even worse because there's a feeding mechanism. So not only in your plans do you have to, figure out how to make the most money, but make sure you're going to have some firewood set aside. Make sure you're going to have some food set aside to feed people, or you are in deep trouble yet again. Another big crunchy thing is, how are you going to transport your wood? Now, you can just hire people, $1 a pop, to haul your wood. That's the least efficient way of doing it. It's the most costly, but it gets it all moved. You can run it down a raft. Now, the raft is the most efficient way of moving your wood, but you don't get it till the following round. You don't get it that round. You get it the next round. So that means you have to do that much more planning. Cart and fodder aren't too bad, but you got to make sure you buy the fodder. You got to make sure you have a cart. That can move wood pretty good as well. So how are you going to transport both short-term and long-term wood is going to be really a big deal. One of the most crunchy parts of the game is what's called planned work. Planned work allows you to do a little bit of a rule breaker. To take an action later that's going to be more beneficial. However, you have to take it in a later round. Now, you can only plan work 3 times in a game. Once at 3 rounds later, or 3 seasons, once at 2 seasons later, once at 1 season later. And you have to think about, okay, by that time, I need to have X things and be doing this. Or that planned work action's wasted, but they're really good bonuses. So if somebody's using planned work right, and you're not, they're probably kicking your butt. So it's a real important deal. There's things called tasks. So you can collect these tasks. They're kind of in order. I want 1 log of this type, 1 log of this type, and maybe 1 more of this type. And it's going to give you end game money. So you put them on these cards, and they just set them aside till the end of the game. However, you're not selling them then to generate more money for you. So that can be an issue as well. You really got to think about, do I need immediate money? Or can I afford to set it to the side for a bigger payoff later? Like I said, that path is a race to the end. Okay, do you want to move quick, just getting the bare minimum of what you need so you can get first chance to cut wood? Or do you play the slow game and just hoover up all the resources everyone ran past? That's another thing you might do. Depending on your cutting area selection is going to make a big deal of whether you need to do that. Like if the next round you desperately need a cart, you're probably going to jump over a lot of places to get to a cart. So how you move through that path will dictate a little bit about how you're going to do your game. The other aspect I love about this game is planning. This is planning the game. This is starting at the beginning and thinking about, what am I going to be doing next round, the round after that, the round after that, maybe even the round after that. Like I said, the planned work, one of them, you're planning 3 seasons out. So you got to think, by then I need to have done these things. And that timing and that planning is the critical way you win Lignum. I do not say I'm an expert on this. I played it just a couple days ago and I crashed and burned horribly. But yeah, juggling all those balls in the air so that they all come down in the right order and you keep the ones you need up while you're going, that's tough. This is a very meaty game. That being said, I found the rules teach not to be that bad. I taught it in 20 minutes or less. It really wasn't that hard. Everything in the game works pretty intuitively. There's a couple weird things for game balance, but for the most part, it's really intuitive. Now, how you work within that game system is where the decisions come in. This is where the game gets rough. It's not that the rules are hard to figure out. It's the how far can I predict into the future of the turns I need to make. That is where the real difficulty and the real stress, and for me, the real fun, comes in Lignum. The other thing to talk about, like I said, there's kind of a feed your people mechanism. You're going to have to feed them once at the first winter, once at the second winter. It'll be more in the second winter, and there's a certain number of food cubes and firewood you have to set aside for doing that. But there's a lot of interesting decisions in the game. How fast you go down the path. What wood and how much of it do you cut? What wood and how much of it do you saw up in the boards, because the boards are going to sell for more money? What wood do I use for tasks? What woods am I going to dry? And drying will make them worth more over the later game. However, I'm not getting that revenue now. Trying to balance all of these things is hard. Lignum is a tougher, medium heavy at the lowest. It could definitely, I could see the argument of it being a heavy game. There are a lot of decisions and things to keep in your mind at all times while you're playing Lignum. And not only that, other people are watching you. You can have these wonderful plans thought out, and then when that critical cart or sled or raft you needed was, there in front of you, somebody moves first and goes, yeah, I really knew you needed that. This is going to hurt. And, you're playing that, so it's not multiplayer solitaire. If you're going to do well at this game, you need to know what's going on at the board, at my tableau, at their tableau, at their tableau. You need to be aware of what everyone's trying to do, and basically the goal is to maximize your own plans while screwing up the other person's as much as possible. That happens in this game. For my money, this is one of the Euro games I knew was coming out this year, and one of the ones I was most looking forward to. Lignum, it's just now being mailed out. People are getting their copies from Capstone Games, so there's probably still plenty of copies left. Go check it out if this kind of thinking appeals to you, if long-term planning and sort of stress management appeals to you. You owe it to yourself to check out Lignum. This is a game that is going to remain in my collection for quite a long time, if not forever. My three favorite planning games to date so far have been Terra Mystica, Spirits of the Rice Paddy, and Lignum. Lignum blows the other two out of the water. Lignum is a wonderful, wonderful, heavy planning game. And even though, like I said, what you're doing seems simple, all the monkey wrenches that can be thrown into that, as well as how you can maximize all that and trying to time it all so that board does this when you need it to, that is tough. That's hard to keep all in your brain at once. For me, that makes for a great game experience. It doesn't for everybody, but if it appeals to you, if you know someone who has it, play it. If you don't, go order a game from Capstone Games, or there's other distributors I know that are getting it in now. Anyway, that is my thoughts on Lignum. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Please come visit The Good, the Bored, and the Ugly on all the various forms of social media, or at least a lot of them. Included the guild link in the notes. Our guild number is 2173. Come leave a question or answer some questions that we might use in a future show. You can email us at goodboardugly@gmail.com, Twitter at goodboardugly. My personal Twitter, which I do a lot of my board game discussion on, is at Denison Science. That is where I am most active. Also on Facebook at Good Board Ugly, and our podcast can be found on iTunes and on Podbean.